So today's video, I'm not, excuse me, really going to be talking to probably most of you. Now, you might be watching this, but you might not want to. Because I want to talk to those of you who are finding yourselves in the midst of a belief crisis, where you don't know what you believe, you don't know what to believe anymore. You don't know if you believe, you don't know if you want to. I'm talking to you. So there might be a good chance that if you're watching this, you're not one of those people. And I'm afraid that I might say some things that you might not like. But I want to talk to those of you who maybe need to hear something like this. Those of you who are battling with a crisis of belief. And this isn't going to be one of those, you just got to believe videos. Just got to. Whenever I find myself in moments of darkness, the last thing I need is for somebody to say that to me. It makes me want to punch them in the face. So I'm not going to do that. I am going to say this. If you're struggling with this whole belief thing, if you're struggling with who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, if you're struggling with this whole spiritual journey thing, I want to say this to you. I get it. Totally. I get it. So, let me see if I can illustrate. Sometimes navigating through this wonderful mind of mine, I can get myself pretty lost. And so let me see if I can clarify. Let's say that I'm holding on to a rope. Now, I'm actually not holding on to a rope. I'm currently driving. But let's say, just, for illustrative purposes, I'm holding on to a rope. And I have been told that my goal is to climb to the top of this rope. And another goal is to not let go and fall to the bottom, because at the bottom of the rope, there's a pit. And lined in this pit is lined with sharp, jagged rocks, and it's prowled by hungry, starving lions. To where if I fall into the pit, it's sure and certain death. Now, I've never seen the bottom of the pit. I've only been told about it. And I don't know anybody that's come back from the bottom of the pit either, but again. In fact, the only thing that I can seem to focus on is the rope. And I gotta tell you, I'm getting tired of hanging on. I mean, my hands are cramping, my forearms burn, my shoulders feel like they're gonna pull out of socket. Seems like it would certainly be a whole heck of a lot easier if I just let go of the stupid thing and just fall. Just be done. But then there's the whole sharp rocks and starving lions thing at the bottom. I'm not real keen on that either. But you see, I don't know how much longer I can hold on. I certainly can't climb. I can't put one hand on top of the other. I don't have the strength. I don't know how far up it is. I just have no idea. And I'm starting to get to the point where I don't care. I don't care what's up there. And I'm also slowly starting to not care what's down there. All I can feel is the lack of feeling in my hands. I don't want to hold on to this rope anymore. I'm sick of it. That's kind of what I mean by a crisis of belief. Where belief is that rope. And I don't know how badly I want to hang on to that rope anymore. There are moments where, okay, I think I might have this. There are moments where, heck with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Well, I want to share a story with you. And I don't know if this will help or not, but it helps me, I think. The Bible records, John specifically records, the story between this Pharisee named Nicodemus and Jesus. Nicodemus is this religious guy. The Pharisees just kind of do their thing because that's what the Pharisees do. This particular instance is not really because of any deep-seated conviction of who they wanted to be. It was a deep-seated desire to look like somebody that would give them power and importance and standing in the community. That's all they cared about. They weren't actually interested in being who they pretended to be. They just were interested in pretending to be that person. Hopefully that makes sense. Except that you've got this young teacher guy who was saying and doing some stuff that all of his colleagues are having a big problem with. Nicodemus I'm talking about. Everybody thinks he's nuts. Nicodemus is holding on to some kind of rope, and he doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't really want to let go, but he doesn't know what to do either. So he carves out some time during some night, and he sneaks over and meets with this Jesus. They make small talk. I don't know if they're talking about the weather or families or politics or I don't know. And then Jesus makes a curious statement. He says, you know, unless you're born again, you can't ever see heaven. Now, much like you and me, Nicodemus has no idea what the heck that meant. And I can kind of hear the conversation where Nicodemus says, what? He says, yeah, unless you're born again, you can't see heaven. Well, how am I supposed to do that? In fact, he says, how am I supposed to climb back into mom's womb just to come out again? It doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. Being born again. And Jesus' answer gets even better. He says, you know, the wind blows from one direction to another and nobody really knows where it comes from, and nobody knows where it's going. So it is with the Spirit of God. So that shouldn't surprise you when I say you got to be born again. Nicodemus, his head has to be spinning because he's like, what? More specifically, at least in the NIV, he says, how can this be? Which I think if you translate that, it'd be better to say, what? And Jesus says, you're a big shot teacher and you don't understand this? And I'd be like, no, I don't. Let me ask you a question. This isn't in the story, by the way, but let me ask you a question. I want you to think back all the way to when you were born. That morning, that evening, afternoon, whatever, that moment you were born. Think back to that. Can you remember? No, you can't remember. But my question is, How much of your birth were you responsible for? How much work did you do? I mean, besides getting your head squished. And the answer is none. You didn't do any work. Your mom's body decided it was time for you to go, so out you came. But you had nothing to do with your birth, other than just staying alive through it. Holding onto the rope, so to speak. So Jesus talks about being born again. How exactly do you pull that off? You don't. Because you can't. You can't climb back up into mom. And you can't do anything that's worth giving you the reward of eternal life. There's nothing you can do. You have one job. Your one job is to hold on to that rope. Come hell or high water, you hold on to that rope. So you're having a crisis to believe, you hold on to the rope, because that's your only job. You don't keep trying to climb, because there's nowhere to climb to. You can't get there. But you don't let go and just fall. Because God can do something in you even when you can't tell He's doing something in you. Maybe even when you don't want Him to do something in you, He still can. Because what He says to Nicodemus, He says, God loved the people of this world so much that He gave them His Son, His only Son, that if you believe in Him, you'll live forever. If you believe in Him. You see, here's the thing. John also talks about how light came in the world, and the world didn't even recognize the light. He made the world, and the world didn't even recognize Him. But He still came. He still came knowing we're going to screw the whole thing up. He still came knowing we're going to have crises of belief over and over and over again. And all He says is, just hang on. You don't have to make it to the top. You're just going to hang on. And the days you want to, hang on strong. The days you don't want to, you hang on anyway. You don't have to like hanging on. You don't have to enjoy hanging on. There'll be days you do like it. There'll be days you do enjoy it. But in the days you don't, you just hang on anyway. And through you just hanging on, God can and will pull off some pretty spectacular stuff.